Do you want to learn how to paint an army pretty fast? You're going to want to stay tuned for this. So as you guys know that watch the channel, I do a live stream where I paint every Thursday night, and I've had some requests to go over my entire painting process, like the step by step as I go. And so we're going to paint two models here. I can show you how fast it can go. Now normally when I do this, I will do an entire army at a time. I have one Grimdark featured model here and one Age of Fantasy model here. This is a Dwarf Miner by Highlands. And this is a Space Marine Scout by, I forgot, pick your poison. There's hundreds of people who make these. Hundreds of people who make Space Marines. So, first thing we're going to talk about is assembly and primer. So, assembly, I put together all of my resin models with just plain old super glue. Just the cheapest stuff I could find. And then for primer, I use the gray primer from Rust-Oleum. That's what you end up with here. So I go with gray instead of black because the next step we are going to do is we're going to do a white dry brush in a almost slap chop way. What we're going to do here, we're going to call this this used to be called underbrushing. It used to be called pre-shading. But what we are going to do is we got some white paint that we're just using, just cheap old apple barrel white. We're going to take a thick brush, a big makeup brush, and then we're going to take most of the paint off. And normally I don't use these, but I'm just going to use these just to make sure the camera goes where it needs to go and I can see all of the cat hairs stuck to me. So now here we go. Let's just start. We're going to do down strokes to it. This way, this is going to catch all of the highlights that we are going to want to paint later. And then once you get done with your down strokes, like here for the underside, we're going to do some side to side just to make sure that we can show off his codpiece in there. And most of the detail in this model is going to be in the face. So as you can see, the dry brushing picks up all of the surfaces nicely there. So he's set. Now we're going to do the same thing for the miner. Well, we didn't pick up enough paint on that. There we go. Remember, do some side to side when you get to those spots that are just underhanging in there. Just put a little bit on everything. Your big focus is going to want to be up and down, but side to side just to make sure that you have paint on all of the surfaces in there. Like we're just definitely not going to hit the side of his helmet as much as we want to. We're just not going to hit it with this brush, and that's fine. That'll just be a darker spot on the model. So now we got to let him sit. So a little bit of edit. Okay, now he's been sitting for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Normally what I do when I dry brush is I dry brush the whole army at a time just to make sure that this white paint is all dried up, because we don't want to get in there and have it accidentally mix with what we are going to use. Now, what I normally use is speed paints. So I got a bunch of Army Painter speed paints here. I don't have near their whole collection, but I keep getting new colors as I go. And we are going to use those speed paints to glaze the colors onto this model. Now there's 2 ways to do it. Since I have 2 models, I'm going to do it both ways. We're going to work on this scout first. The first way we are going to do it is dark to light. So this one, we're going to work the dark color first, because with the speed paints, I don't know if this is true, but in my mind, the darker colors have more something in them, to where you put down the darker color and you could run a lighter color over top of it, it'll be fine. But if you have like a lighter color and you run this over the top of it, this will stain the hell out of this. So we're going to do the dark to light on this one. And the other way to do it is inside out, but we'll go over that when we get to the dwarf. So here, what we're going to do is, this is going to be kind of a Scrublands camo scheme. So it's going to be, I've kind of fallen in love with this color, Desolation Brown. It's an olive, ugly looking olive color. So we're going to use that for all of his armor panels, and then we're going to do pallid bone for his pants, and then his leather, and then the gun is going to be black. And in this case, I'm going to wait to do the gun last, just because it is so far like out in front of the model. I feel like I can miss that with everything. And then it's going to have the shotgun shells and all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the darker color of the leathers and then the armor. So for the leathers, we're going to go right for Satchel Brown. And also another trick that I have is for the pallets that I use, these are just GW 25mm bases. I flip them upside down, and that's what I use for my pallets. And another thing that I do, because there is so much pigment in this, I like to put about 1 drop, well, 2 drops of water in there. Now for brushes, these are the current brushes that I'm using. I don't go through brushes that fast. This is just a set I picked up in the about last month. And surprisingly, my favorite brush to use is this one. I mean, compared to the size of the model, woohoo. So here we go. We just take our paint. I'm gonna just move that off camera here. Give that a little swirl. And so now we are going to be doing his leathers. We're going to be doing his pouch here. Oh wait, I know what's wrong. Hold on. There we go. Turn on the big light. And then we're going to do his boots as well. Except for that little nubbin out to the side, and then his armor plate here on the back of his foot. Now you could use hardened leather for this to give you like more of a lighter brown color, but because his armor is going to be Desolation Brown and hardened leather, they kind of run together, kind of blur together. So we're going to use this Satchel Brown on all of his leather just to make sure that we break it up. Now we're going to look to see if there's any more obvious leather spots, and I don't see any. Next color, we're going to go right into the armor with that Desolation Brown. And again, we're going to give it 1, 2, and we are ready. And see here, this is where we can see where the darker colors don't really show up. If you hit them with a lighter color, you can tell I hit his belt right there, but you can barely see it. All right, and since it's still wet, we're going to use it to wick away some of that line that got left over there. Oh, don't forget the codpiece. Next we're going to do his face, and then for that we're going to use Crusader skin. It's a pretty good tan skin color. Just boop, one little dot. Normally when I'm doing 15, 20, 30 of these, I'll still only use like 1 or 2 dots, but then I will mix it up multiple times as I go along. And instead of dropping it in, I've just got a wet brush. We're just gonna let that, swirl it around there. Ooh. See, and in this case it came out awful light. So what we're gonna do, that's why I only do 1 or 2 drops at a time. We're just going to clean it out of the palette here, like this. We'll do 1 drop, undiluted. And we can go right back over what we already did. This will actually get darker as it dries. So as we go, you'll see that actually get darker. Next, we're going to do the fatigues, and for that, we're going to do pallid bone. This is pretty much good for a khaki color. And for this one, because the pigment in this one is so weak, we are going to do it undiluted. Alright, looking good so far. Now next we're going to go back in with some more Satchel Brown because I realized I missed half his boots and then that front piece there. This is going to happen as you're doing speed painting. You're going to run through stuff and you're going to miss spots. No big deal. Fixed and fixed. Now for this guy's hair, we are going to use dark wood. Now it's time to do those shotgun shells. And what better way to do a shotgun shell but blood red? So we're going to use so little of this, just barely. And I am going to switch over to a smaller brush. Just because those are so tiny. Now we got the shell part, or we got the back of the casing back here. So we're going to do this part as red. And that's that, even though you can only see it from top down. I know it's there. Now we're going to do all the cabling, all the gear that he has, and most of the gun here. We're going to do that in Grim Black. So this is what we have so far, just 1 or 2 more colors to go. We are going to change some things up here because of the back of those shells, they're not going to be silver. They're going to be Horde bronze. Just like that. Now, it would not be a Grim Dark Mini without having some metal on it. And for that, we are going to use Broadsword Silver. Alright, so just for basic paint, this scout is complete, and we're going to let it sit and let the paint all sink in, let everything dry fully, and then we're going to go back in and do some washes. So for now, we're going to switch over to the dwarf, and for this we are going to use the inside out method. And for that, what that means is that we're going to start with the deepest part of the mini first. Now here you can see that we have some leather skirting with a, looks like, under robe underneath of it. Then we got what looks like a battle apron, because he is a miner. He's got his little mining tools there. So we are going to start off with this skirting here, because it goes pretty much the deepest all the way around. And for that, we are going to actually use hardened leather, because we got a few different leathers on this guy. We're going to want to differentiate. Along with, it looks like he's wearing gloves there. And the only reason I say that is because you see those little creases next to his wrists. Since we're already going to have the hardened leather out, we're going to do those as well. Now normally for this you would want a smaller brush, but you know, I'm a glutton for punishment. We're going to be getting all the way in there. So there's our first leather color. Now, next we are going to be doing the skirting at the bottom. My other dwarf army is blue, and this one, we're going to say these are more blue colored dwarfs since they're miners. So we're going to use cloudburst blue. This one gives you kind of like a denim blue jean color. So we're just going to go around the bottom and pick out where that's popping out. Easy as that. Next, we're going to do our leather apron. That's going to go here across the tools there, and then the straps on the back, we're going to use satchel brown for that. So there we go. There's his apron, his battle apron. Now we're going to do dark wood for all the shafts on his mining pick and his hammer back there. Now, next thing to do is going to be all of the metal work. So we're going to do the back plate, we're going to do the hammer, the pickaxe, and then his little lantern over here, along with it. Well, there's going to be a lot of metal on this one. And again, we're going to go back to broadsword silver. So there we go, we have metal on our dwarf. The next step is going to be his skin. We got a little nose poking out there, and then his elbows. And for that, for the doors, we're going to use peachy flesh. There we go. Now all that's left is that big old beard in the front, and for that we are going to use Fire Giant Orange. Almost done. Last little thing is that flame on the top, and we're going to hit that with Zealot Yellow. Ta-da! Now all the color's been blocked in on this dwarf. You could put him on the table right now, but just like with the scout, we're going to wait for this guy to completely dry out, and then we're going to hit it with some washes, but for now we're going to go back to the scout. Here he is, all cured up and ready to go. So, what are we going to use for washes? Well, what we're going to use is Military Shader on this guy. So we're just going to go in here. Pretty much give everything a once over with this, except for his face. For his face, we're going to use a soft tone, or maybe a dark tone on his face. I'm not quite sure yet. So there he is all shaded up there. Now we're going to go into his face. Yeah, and we're going to use strong tone for his face. So there we go. We're going to let that sit and work its magic. So then back to our dwarf friend here. Now we're going to be using some dark tones on the leathers, and then it'll be soft tone on the skin tones, and then we're going to use a black wash on all of the metals. And then I think I'm going to use the strong tone for his beard too. Kind of tone down that orange. Alright, so there he is so far. Soft tone for the skin. Ooh. Okay, I don't like the way that looks, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all the paint off of our brush. We're just going to peel it back. Maybe that skin was fine just the way it was. Now we're going to do the black wash for the metals. And for that, we're going to use my concoction that I've showed off on live stream. This started as a Vallejo game wash, but it's not anymore. It's a combination of all kinds of stuff. Any kind of black wash I get, I just kind of throw into this pot. I've added some black ink. I've added some, contrast, medium, all kinds of stuff. Enough to where when I give it a shake, it gets all foamy. Alright, so there he is done. So there you have it. That is the way that I paint my armies. Now this was just me painting 2 individuals out of entire armies. Normally I sit down and I do, 30, 40, 50 at a time. Take one color, run it through like a typewriter, do all of them that one color, and then go back, start over with a new color. The big thing I want you to take away from this is don't let perfection get in the way of good. Now, are these the best looking miniatures that I've ever painted? No. But I'll tell you what, if you got a whole army that's all painted up to this standard, standing next to each other on a board, they're gonna look great. The hardest part about painting is just picking up the brush and starting. So I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you take away something from here to add to your painting arsenal. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the video. And I hope you're having fun playing OPR wherever you are. And I'll talk with you next time. Bye-bye.